So the first talk today, and what I'm going to do, and I'm looking, is to introduce Cliff Tyrone, who is the Executive VP, there you are, of Strategic Accounts with Thinaer. And so I now turn it over to you, Cliff. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be back here in Cleveland. We were here 3 years ago, actually, at the last live conference. And so for those of you who are dialed in virtually, thank you for joining. And for those here, it's great to see some same faces and also some new ones here as well. So Lee has said, you get 15 minutes, that's it. And so in those 15 minutes, we're going to cover 2 mini use cases and talk about endless talent possibilities in the time that we have here together. And we've chosen these 2 use cases specifically because it aligns with the theme of this year's conference, which is all around how to build talent effectively. And I have to say, that was one of the most awesome, effective opening breakout networking sessions. I think we all felt like we could have stayed here probably all morning and all day talking through a lot of those questions that came up. I know I certainly did. Our table had really good discussion. And so we specifically at Thinaer chose 2 use cases that do focus, even though we are a digital transformation and IoT company, that focus specifically on the people side of transformation because we wanted to align with the content that we're all talking through here. So who is Thinaer? Just to give you a brief introduction into who we are, and then we'll dive right into the use cases. We are a digital transformation company that focuses on massive IoT. And we do a big focus on analytics and helping companies with understanding where their assets are and how their equipment is performing and supply chain pedigree and how parts are moving from one place to another. And so a whole bunch of things that we do. I'll get into a little bit here. And one of the things that's unique about what we do is that we can combine data from IoT sensors. You're seeing in my hand here, this is one of many different types of sensors that we use. We don't manufacture these, but we use these, and we write all the software and analytics around it. And we combine that with the power of human-based input, human feedback. Because we recognize that digital transformation is only as good as the people that you have behind it. And in fact, you're going to see a quote up here from one of our clients, to paraphrase him, where he said that software does what you tell it to do, people don't. Right? And so how do you build the skills? How do you build the capabilities? How do you build the energy behind these large transformation projects? That's what we're going to be focusing on here. And so at Thinaer, we use any sensors whatsoever that are out there. We are agnostic to them, but they do things like track your equipment, you tag your environment, and then you get business value is the real simplistic way of putting it. This is a 3D rendering of a sample factory floor. I'm sure many of you, this will resonate with you, but you can imagine that your assets, you want to track the vibration of equipment to understand how it's performing. You want to track your materials both within and outside the 4 walls of your facility. And you want to look at things like temperature and humidity and all of this in a really, really connected environment, right? Where you're making your old assets or even your new assets smart. And so that's what we do. We string that all up. We have a really great, easy to use and contextualized platform. We call it Sonar, where you can track your assets and look at all your things, and you get those great notifications. And you're seeing just some screenshots of that. We even do digital twinning, too, to understand how your equipment is performing. The numbers speak for themselves here. Here's just a few stats from our clientele. We work with Department of Defense, aerospace manufacturing, through to consumer packaged goods, to car manufacturers and healthcare facilities. You're seeing some of the stats around improved productivity and gains in the operations. And we can do this at scale. And so we actually have a webinar that we recently did with one of our partner organizations called Williot. And in this in this webinar, you see how we really, really take IoT at scale You could point to any facility and we can deploy tech, but we recognize that some cases you want to get your people behind the technology and the efforts, right? And that's exactly what these two use cases are going to hit on. Some of our clients want to actually have that deeper level of service, build up the talents, build up the skill sets, communicate to the employees why this change is happening, why it's important. And so we at Thinaer also offer that as a service as well. And so with that, this is a great quote from John Brandt. He said that digital transformation is as much a cultural change as it is a technological change. We couldn't agree more. And now I'm going to dive right in and show you these here two mini use cases. The most effective way is for you not to listen to me, but to listen to the people themselves. And so we have two mini videos that we've prepared here that'll give you just a little bit of an insight in the small few 15 minutes that we have into what large transformation looks like from their perspective. This first one is featuring Kevin Vaught. He's one of the supply chain leaders at Mars Wrigley. Here's that great quote that I was mentioning before, and here's actually a little mini video about their work.
We set out with a strategy over 4 years ago to transform our supply chain that's going to impact the organization in a way that we never had before.
At Thinaer, our goal is to help our partners maximize and optimize digital transformation. Mars was going through an incredibly complex, historic supply chain project, and it was really critical for them to create transparency. It's not always the change that people fear, it's the unknown.
Our biggest challenge was change management, and what Thinaer gave us was the ability to have real-time feedback.
We acquire feedback, we analyze the feedback, and then we act on the feedback. We were able to gauge at any given point what were the challenges, what were potential barriers.
The partnership with Thinaer helped us understand what people go through when they change.
We're continually collecting millions of physical, digital, and human experience data points to deliver precise, AI-backed operational insights. It's the 360 around what's happening within the organization.
You can't expect to have all the answers. And so the more that you can communicate, the more that you can share, the more that you can learn, the more successful your initiatives can be.
All right, great. So just to recap here with what we do, really take a humanized look at digital transformation, and you can do some really powerful things when you involve, I know you all know this and we're here to talk about this, when you involve your employees in that change. And it really excites me, and we really get passionate about combining data from machines and combining that with human-based input, and you can do some pretty impressive stuff. This is just a high-level visual model of some of the ways that we work, where we do discovery work all the way through to helping to drive that culture change and build that muscle across the organization. So with that, I'm going to go to the second use case here. This is featuring a number of people at Subaru. This is a quote from Mike Campbell, one of their executives, and you could see him speak more to this work in the video here.
Subaru's love promise is all about putting the customers first. That's also what we do at Thinaer. Our goal is to help Subaru build on a culture of innovation and provide a one-stop shop for digital transformation.
We want our customers to have their vehicles fixed right the first time.
We recognize that in order to get quality improvements happening faster, we would need to get more engagement from our technicians at our retailers.
Technicians were not necessarily incentivized to report on anything they encountered when diagnosing and repairing the vehicle.
It was something that we understood was bigger than we could manage internally.
We were trying to influence people who don't directly work for our company. And we understood from the beginning that we were going to need more than just a technology solution. If you don't have good engagement with the end users, it's not going to be used.
The biggest challenge was rolling out the technology across 7,000 technicians nationwide. What Thinaer did was to help coach Subaru's field managers on how to be better influential leaders without direct authority.
The one thing I can say about Thinaer is that they truly cared. Thinaer took the time to do the research, to provide us with tips and tricks on coaching and feedback.
By partnering with Thinaer, we were able to get the transformational edge that we needed. We've had tremendous engagement. The number of reports that we received is up by more than 50% over the previous year.
To have somebody come in with a fresh set of eyes was probably the most valuable piece of the development process.
At Thinaer, we use these innovative IoT sensors to track the entire supply chain, but collecting human feedback is the real key. What makes Subaru so innovative is how they're systematically tapping into the knowledge of technicians by capturing their feedback at scale on vehicles they service. It really gives a 360-degree view of their entire operation, and one way that they are upholding that love promise to their customers.
Great. So I think we're just about at time here. I hope that gave you a little bit of an insight into some of the large-scale transformations happening across a few different companies. Would love to engage with you more about that if you're interested. We are, shameless plug, facilitating a workshop this afternoon. We were very fortunate and thankful to get a grant from the IRI. Thank you again for that, for some research around how do you lead people through change. And so this is a joint collaboration effort between Thinaer, Mars Wrigley, and Temple University that we've been leading for the past few months. And so we're facilitating a workshop around that work this afternoon today at 1:30 in Ballroom A, which I think is over here.